Big week. Hi, Robin. Big week coming for crypto this week as we have massive inflation data coming out. Jerome Powell will be speaking. We're expecting some volatility. We also have a big event happening tonight on X. We'll cover that as well. How is Michael Saylor's Bitcoin bet? How has that played out over the last 4 years? And what does that mean moving forward for other companies looking to adopt a Bitcoin strategy? We'll break that all down for you. Last week, massive inflows into Ethereum. When is Ethereum's price going to get back up to over $3,000? And also, this might be your last chance to buy these 3 altcoins at a very steep discount. We'll talk about which ones those are. What are we most bullish on? And is the metaverse really dead, or have we just been sleeping on it? Rob and I are going to have that discussion on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel. We take old, boring, and stale information and repackage that thing up in a fun and sexy way. What a week we got lined up for you today. We have a lot of special guests joining us this week. We got some big interviews in the works as well. We're going to catch a little more detail on that. And then also, if you're a fan of Cardano, not only do we got a video coming out here after the live show, roughly around hour and 45 minutes, we do also got a lot going on as far as what we're expecting. You know, you got Rare Evo, you got...
Not to change the subject, but I was a little disappointed when you introduced yourself. Figured you'd say pineapple, Rob, today. A lot of pineapples on your shirt.
You got a lot of blue polos, faded blue polos. You got like
this is not faded. I just bought this from Express.
You got like 3 of those.
These are not. I got one of these. There's different shades of colors, you know, Robin?
Oh, different shades of faded.
We hope you guys had a great weekend. We got a big week coming up. We had another Sunday dump yesterday, but price recovered pretty nicely for BTC. Let's take a look at what are some of these big events. Well, the big one here, guys, is this July CPI inflation numbers. Those come out on Wednesday. Retail sales data comes out on Thursday. Why is that important? Well, this is what economists and investors look to when they say, hey, what is the pulse of the economy? Is the retail okay? Rob talks about how the institutions drive sales and money, but we all know what drove the last bull market, and it was those $1,400 stimmy checks that were dropped from the government to who? To retail. And so retail is very, very important. How are they looking? Those numbers are going to come out on Thursday. And then 3 Fed speaker events and earnings season continue. This is all happening this week, so expect a little bit of volatility. We did see a spike in the VIX, which measures the volatility in the markets. What are you expecting this week, Rob, from the markets and from these key events that are happening?
I don't know if we're going to have that big breakout this week. I do expect us to continue on in the bull market and continue on to making or getting closer to the all-time highs and eventually making a new all-time high. And I know there's been some discussions on, hey, maybe we hit the top on the bull market, or maybe, this is a cool down until maybe 2025 or cool down until the election. And I don't really subscribe to that idea. I think that we are post-halving. We have the ETFs. They're bringing in a surge of liquidity. A ton of buyers are scooping up Bitcoin. Post-halving, not so much Bitcoin going around. Michael Saylor's buying every Bitcoin there is. El Salvador is going all in on Bitcoin. You have companies doing the reserve treasury asset internationally in Japan. The list goes on and on. We're discussing a strategic reserve for Bitcoin. So I have no doubt whatsoever that within the next 3 months, we're back on track to new all-time highs. Does it kick off this week? Maybe. Does it kick off next week? Maybe. Will it kick off in the next 3 months? Absolutely. Guaranteed. Write it down.
Guaranteed, huh?
Guaranteed. I just don't see a scenario, even with economic and political turmoil.
What exactly are you guaranteeing? That in 3 months we'll have a new all-time high?
Yeah. And when I say guarantee, it's like 98%.
Rocco, will you write this timestamp?
98%
Done.
guarantee, okay?
That's not a guarantee.
No money back guarantee.
No money back.
No, there's always a disclaimer on a guarantee, right? You
Yeah,
order
no,
a
but-
product.
98% is not guaranteed.
No, you get a new car, right? It's guaranteed for 4 years, unless you have a baby and they like all of a sudden take that fork you gave
Those are
them
called
in the
exclusions.
car seat.
Those are called
and then
exclusions.
they exclusion.
So what's your exclusion?
Exclusion here is
2%?
I don't know. Maybe Satoshi comes back from the grave,
okay.
or wallets move. Something AI related messes up crypto.
Or the election. The election might mess things up.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's, and this is prior to the election, right? Because the election is in October.
No, we'll be 5 days after the election.
Oh, 5 days after the election. Okay, so
So 2 months and 2 weeks, says Rob.
yeah.
Not 3 months.
Yeah.
There's your exception. I want to share this. Pretty interesting. So, there's a lot of discussion about where are we in the bull market? Is this even a bull market? This is not a bull market. What are we doing? We already topped out. Well, Bitcoin on-chain indicators shifting back to bull market, according to CryptoQuant CEO. And what is he talking about? Most Bitcoin on-chain cyclical indicators that were hovering near the borderline have now shifted back to signal a bull market. Bitcoin was discounted for only 3 days. So this is their Bitcoin bull bear market cycle indicator. So you can see here from this this graph here, it gives you the signals and colors, right? So in red, you have an overheated bull market. Orange is I'm being colorblind today. Orange is bull, blue is bear, and then you have the early bull, extreme bear. So we did dip into bear market territory with last Sunday's big dip to $49,500. That reversed fairly quickly, as mentioned in this post here. Only 3 days, Bitcoin was on discount. This is a cycle that no one's seen a cycle like this, right? We've never had an all-time high before the halving. We've never had institutional rails. We've never had ETFs. And so, and Bitcoin is 15 years post, post white paper. And so anyone that tells you they know what's going to happen has no idea what's going to happen. We don't even know what's going to happen unless you're some sort of witch or have
I told you I know what's happening. Next 3 months, news all-time high.
So you're a witch.
Yeah.
Also, this gentleman here, what's his name so I don't mess this up? His name is Ki Young Ju. He said he reported that over 404,000 Bitcoin had moved to permanent holder addresses over a 30-day period, a clear sign of accumulation. This is what the smartest people, right? The people that have mastered the skill of being able to invest and trade without any emotion attached to it, right? They look at an asset. What has it been doing? What is it doing? What does it do? And is it on discount or is it on premium? And if it's on discount, they buy. And if it's on premium, they sell. So anytime you people watching, some of you watching, if you end up panic selling your Bitcoin, these are the people that accumulate and buy it for cheap and they sell it back to you at higher prices. Don't be that person. Don't freak out and do something stupid and sell your Bitcoin when you start seeing some liquidations. Unless something fundamentally changes to your investment thesis, then sure. Or if you absolutely need money to pay bills, yes, don't go broke, don't go hungry, feed your family, pay for your shelter. But don't just emotionally make decisions and sell something when just everyone else is selling. Because guess what? Again, at the end of that selling, there's buyers who step in and buy it, and you don't want to be buying your Bitcoin back from them at higher prices. Am I right or am I right? I wasn't clowning on your shirt. I was just saying there's a lot of pineapples, but you were clowning on me, so I didn't like that.
You literally were clowning on my shirt.
I said there's a lot of pineapples.
Before we went live, he was clowning on my shirt and opens up with, hey, a lot of pineapples.
But on air, I wasn't clowning on it.
Rob, you missed the part where he say on the graphic they was colorblind. So now you understand what the T-shirt all the same.
But I can still see the pineapples. Anyways, any commentary on this? Okay, let's talk about last week's inflows. And so here you can see this from CoinShares. Bitcoin saw $13 million of inflows, pretty weak. But look at Ethereum. $155 million flowed into Ethereum last week. Month to date, 150.5. Year to date, $862 million. Solana came in at number 2 with 4.5 million over the last week. And then Cardano had about $600,000 worth of inflows on the institutional side. And so, Bitcoin ETF flows slowed down. We also had those 2 really big days of outflows. And then we saw that massive day of inflows. We saw the price on Thursday really, really rally for Bitcoin. And well, what happened on Wednesday? Morgan Stanley allowed all their investment advisors to market the Bitcoin ETF product. So we can assume that had some sort of correlation, some sort of direct effect on the price, and of course, obviously on the inflows of the Bitcoin ETF. But do you see this disparity continuing, Robin? The disparity of less into Bitcoin, more into Ethereum?
Absolutely. And, we've been talking about it. I've been talking about it even before it was announced. I was like, man, when this ETF for ETH goes live, and the thing is this is a small market cap, less than a quarter the size of Bitcoin. And then on top of that, you have more inflows going into Ethereum, and the price is lower than when it originally aired. I mean, when it originally went live. And so ETF announced, goes live, $3,500 ETH. Right now, sitting at $2,500. More inflows to the ETH ETFs than there is on Bitcoin. On top of that, post-halving, Bitcoin's going to keep rallying. What happens when Bitcoin rallies? Altcoins do as well, particularly Ethereum. It walks in step with Bitcoin. At least it does more so than most other altcoins. And during the bull market, it outperforms Bitcoin, right? We went from $5,000-$6,000 Bitcoin through the bull market, went all the way up to the from 5 to 6,000 went up to what, 60? What was the top last bull market? 64,000
BTC?
Yeah,
69.
So, that was the move, right? Which was substantial, it was huge.
Yeah,
but Ethereum outperformed the crap out of Bitcoin. I mean, the chart there, you went from $100 all the way past 3,000. And so, you're getting a 3 times return on Ethereum than Bitcoin last bull market. And now you got ETH outperforming Bitcoin yet again. And I know it's a new product. That allure is going to wear off. The imbalance is going to level out. And so right now it's the shiny new product, sure. But I still think that there is going to be, over the next, say, 6 months, more money coming into Ethereum than Bitcoin.
I think if staking, what time frame did you give?
Next 6 months.
Wrong. Unless we get staking added or a new product with staking.
People are degenerates, man. And the market's going to take off. Bitcoin's going to be over 80,000, 90,000, over 100,000. And people are going to get greedy, and they're going to look over to Ethereum, and they're just going to throw a ton of money into it. And maybe percentage-wise, it's going to outperform Bitcoin. I'm sorry. You're going to get more percentage net inflows for as far as market cap than you would on Bitcoin. Now, whether or not it's the dollar amount, I think that the dollar amount is gonna be in Ethereum's camp for a short while, because it's new, it's shiny, it's cool. But then, yeah, it'll wear off. But still, there's gonna be so much money pouring into ETH. ETH's price is gonna balloon, man. At $2,500, you can't beat it, man. I'm telling you. Okay, here's the thing: if Bitcoin were to 2x, you're talking about $120,000 Bitcoin at 2x, right?
That is correct.
Now, what's the likelihood of that happening in the next 6 months? What do you think about 50-50, 40-60?
In the next how many months?
6 months.
That puts us at February.
Yeah, you somewhere around 50-50?
55%.
So you're somewhere around 50-50. What do you think the chances are that Ethereum passes $5,000 in the next 6 months?
80%.
There you go. So that's my whole point, is that you're going to make more money in the short term. Now, don't round trip your bags and then hold Ethereum right now and then go all the way, 2 years from now, and then you're sitting on a $4,000 Ethereum, and all of a sudden Bitcoin's healthy over, say, 150,000. All I'm saying is that if you time this thing out right, and you don't even have to nail it, you just pick some up now, sell it around $8,000. I think it's a
that
healthy
easy,
return.
huh?
Yeah, it's that easy.
That easy.
It's easy to make money in crypto, as long as you don't.
But it's easier to lose money in crypto.
It's easy to lose sight of focus, to invest in some speculative,
No, you're
something
right.
that's rallying. No. It's easy to take your hodl position and be like, I don't have any more money on the side. Let me sell a little bit of my Bitcoin or my Ethereum or whatever it is. That is something we've all done. You've done it, right?
Yes.
I've done it too many times. And so we always look in hindsight. You're like, damn it, man, if I would have just kept my damn money in Bitcoin, if I would have kept it in Ethereum, I would have been real good. But then I ended up buying that NFT, investing in that launch pad on Algorand, and I ended up like, you know what I mean? Like, you just start naming random stuff, and you're just like, damn it.
It really is simple, right? We as human beings just complicate everything. We take something that's so simple, and you know what? I wasn't going to cue this now, but let me just show you. Let me just show you how easy it is to make money with just one asset, Bitcoin. That's it. Even if you're like, I don't have time, David. I don't have time. I barely watch a show. I tune in from time to time. I got to work 2-3 jobs. I got a kid. I got 2 kids. I got a wife. I got a crazy sister-in-law that won't stop bugging me, and a mother. Okay, fine. I get it. Look at this here, okay? This is from Jeff, Punter Jeff. All 3,070 4-year hodl periods of Bitcoin have been positive. The worst 4-year hodl period was from December of 2017 to December of 2021. So that 4-year period was the worst 4-year period return you got on Bitcoin, and it still had an average of 155% returns. This is what that looked like. If you bought Bitcoin, the original price on 2021 on December 15th was $48,000. 4 years prior was $19,000, bringing your return in that 4-year period of 155% with a compounded annual growth rate of 22%. This was the worst 4-year period, and you were still making at minimum 144%. If you bought at the worst time and sold at the worst time, you still made 144% in 4 years. It's that easy. Buy it now, sell it in 4 years. You'll make money.
I was literally having that conversation with somebody that has no position on Bitcoin, and I was just kind of talking about it, and they like perked up. They're like, you know what? I think and then I was just like, look, just buy it for 4 years. You want to hold it longer? Cool. But you want to make some money. Just don't sell it. Don't sell it in less than 4 years.
And Robin, this was the top, right? This was the market top of 2 cycles ago. 19,000 was the top. Even if you bought the top and just held for 4 years. 4 years. 155% gain. It's really that easy. It's also easy to give big thank yous when you have amazing channel sponsors. First one I'd like to thank is CAMS Blue Wire Technology. If you want to learn how CAMS can help your business scale and grow and maximize your networking, IT, and cybersecurity, want to visit bluewiretech.com. Click the link in the description of this video. Amazing team, amazing company. They've really helped us bring this crystal clear 4K stream to you. So big shout out to them. I also want to talk about this, some more very, very bullish Bitcoin news. Robin, not only is Marathon mining a crap load of Bitcoin, but they're also looking to raise money to buy a crap load of Bitcoin, $250 million to be exact. They're raising money, convertible notes, 250 or convertible debt, 250 to buy 250 million bucks worth of BTC, the largest miner when it comes to market cap as a publicly traded company. They are looking to buy that much Bitcoin. Also got to remember, Robin, Michael Saylor is raising $2 billion to also buy more Bitcoin. And
I'm just curious that if they raise money to buy Bitcoin, if we get that typical post bull market crash where let's just say Bitcoin moves to say, let's just throw some round numbers out there. Say it gets up to 200 grand.
Okay.
And then it drops down to say 55,000. And Marathon takes out massive amount of leverage and loans, one, to acquire Bitcoin, but also two, to acquire new ASICs to grow their hash rate to compete with the other miners. And they might be forced to sell and say they've already sold or exited their position on what they mine. Do you think they'll sell their long-term HODL position?
Well,
They'll be forced to, right? If they have to.
Well, here's my thing. I don't like, but also like if they're borrowing money, like obviously they're borrowing money to this, right? You got to assume on the way up they're paying their loan back, correct? Unless something like prematurely crashes, then yeah, you might be forced liquidated. But
regardless,
I also don't know like what kind of buy is this? Is this a buy for our reserve? Is this a buy we're going to hold forever, like a Michael Saylor? Is this a buy and
that's
we're
what
going to take
announced. That's what they announced, that they were doing the Michael Saylor strategy, MicroStrategy.
Okay, then yeah,
and so
then no.
But what I'm saying is that regardless of what their strategy is, or you know what it reminds me of,
Marathon strategy
is, remember Terra Luna was like, we're buying and acquiring Bitcoin
for their USD stablecoin.
Yeah. And so that all got unwound because they're forced to sell. Now,
correct.
Now, all I'm saying is that they, regardless of what their intentions is for this, they need to be responsible in how they take on leverage. That way they can account for, say, an 80% drawdown from market top. And if they don't account for it, if they're not ready for that 80% drawdown, and then that happens and they get margin called on loans and things like that, then they'll be forced to sell. So I would expect, and I'd hope that they would, take a reasonable path to ensuring that they're not going to be forced to sell, right? And not take on too much leverage, not borrow too much money, or put them in a position that if you do get a significant drawdown in the 80% range, like we've seen in past, that it won't destroy their business model.
Here's an interesting thought experiment. These miners compete for hash rate, correct? And hash rate allows you to kind of be the higher your hash rate, the more chances of you solving that algorithm that pays you the block rewards. And this is a little more like really, really deep into the rabbit hole here, but if miners unplug, difficulty drops, so it becomes easier to be rewarded with blocks. Can this be? I mean, if there's a point where they can dump this $250 million in Bitcoin and drive the price down and force other miners to unplug, bringing the difficulty down, thus giving them more...
A publicly traded company is not going to sell their HODL position to manipulate the markets on a downside move on Bitcoin to spook the markets and cause forced selling. Not going to do that. That's a reach, bro.
Okay. I said it's a thought experiment.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not saying it's going to happen.
You didn't think it out.
I did think it out. I thought it out loud.
Rocco, do you think
Robin's the guy? Like, guys, they just want to take our guns away. Nothing bad's going to happen.
Rocco,
look at the.
Do you think that Marathon is going to sell all of their Bitcoin to crash the market?
It's not what
so that way they can put pressure
if
on the
Marathon was a company that made ice cream, maybe, but
that's literally
job
what I said.
Is a minor. I don't think that's going to happen.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. It's a little bit out of
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course it's a reach. That's why it's a thought experiment. You ever experimented with something? Anyways, let's talk about Mr. Bukele. El Salvador announces $1.6 billion private investment, the biggest in the nation's history. $1.6 billion investment by Yieldport Holding will modernize the port at Acayutla, build a new port at La Union, where Bitcoin City is planned. You think this would be possible, Robin, if they hadn't adopted Bitcoin and made it legal tender? I mean, El Salvador has seemingly gone from like one of the worst places to go to one of the best places to go, one of the worst places to invest to one of the best places to invest. One of the most fragile, what's the word I'm looking for? Economies as far as how much money they have, how much money comes in, how much money goes out, to one of the premier ones, right?
Yeah.
They had that $900 million loan that they had to pay back. And everyone's like, no, there's no way they're paying it back. They paid it back in full in like a third of the time that they were allotted to pay it back. And now you have news like this where money is pouring in, people are pouring in, tourism is up. I mean,
I look at El Salvador. I feel like they're going to be the financial hub of South America. And I think it's going to happen kind of blindside people, right? Think of, say, South Korea, right? South Korea in the 80s, early 90s, not a very significant economy. And then they went all in on tech, innovation, and now they're one of the strongest economic players in Southeast Asia, if not the strongest, right? I mean, they're up there with, Singapore and Hong Kong, right? They're easily in those discussions. It wasn't always that way. And they got there pretty quickly. And I think that El Salvador might find themselves in a similar situation, especially if they keep acquiring more and more Bitcoin and Bitcoin's price, goes where we're estimating it will to the 6-figure range. And who knows, maybe, $250,000, $500,000 Bitcoin over the next 6 or 7 years. And if that happens with their position on Bitcoin now, I mean, how could they not be sitting in a very comfortable position from GDP, from economic interest, from foreign nations, from investments, and the list goes on and on. And so, I mean, they're doing everything right. I'll say this, that a lot of what has been successful in El Salvador is also due to El Salvador's new position just across the board, right? Their crime rate has dropped. Their immigration is, their population is not fleeing the country. If anything, it's reversing now. People are coming back to El Salvador. And so I would say that it's more of a policy change from the top down, and that they're managing the government a lot more efficiently. And one corridor that has been effective is Bitcoin. And so I feel like they're checking all the boxes, right? They're doing everything right. And Nayib Bukele's fielding calls from other presidents and political leaders, and like, hey, what are you guys doing? What did you do here to turn your country around? And people are taking notice, and I'm sure that other nations are looking over at them and saying, hey, how'd y'all do this Bitcoin thing? Especially if you're leveraging yourself against the dollar and you're seeing a runaway inflation. And who benefits the most from inflation? It's the
people that sit on debt.
The politicians, the companies native to the U.S. Who's the ones that are affected the most, dramatically? Who's the one that has the short end of the stick? It's foreign nations that hold the currency, right? You don't get any of the benefits of printing, but you get all the downside of inflation. And so I think other countries that use the dollar are next.
You know what's next? Well, in about 6 hours.
It's gonna be so good.
Donald J. Trump and Elon Musk will be doing a Twitter Spaces or X Spaces tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I put out a post, Robin, for people to take a guess how many live viewers or live listeners they're going to have. What's your guess? And do you think X will shut down? Do you think the Spaces will crash?
No, because because of Grok, the AI software that they have for Elon's AI, which is also integrated in X, have a massive amount of compute. I know that's not network, and because they're going to need servers, but I'm sure.
He said he was stress testing it yesterday. Elon said.
Yeah, I would say 400 million.
400 million
views.
Okay, I'm saying live listeners.
Oh, live?
Yeah.
I'll say 60 million.
I'm like 20 million.
Yeah, I think there are somewhere around 40, 50, 60 million live viewers, and then I think it'll get 400 million views in its
That I
entirety.
can see, yeah. I want to know what the chat thinks. How many live listeners will this X Spaces get tonight? I'm at 20 million. Robin's at, let's just call it 50 million. You said 40, 50.
Bitcoin will come up?
I bought
crypto?
some Trump coin at $3. It's going to be a swing trade though.
But I think crypto will be a conversation. I think it's less likely. I think it's maybe 15% likelihood. I think 85% won't happen.
20%.
Yeah. If it does, man, everything's maybe Elon throws out Doge. Maybe you never know.
I don't know, man. He's gonna be sitting with the former president. He's not gonna talk about Dogecoin.
If it's a loose conversation, because here's
Elon is not a crypto degen.
But Elon also isn't someone that has practice in hosting a podcast. Now he's been on many of them. So in my theory, I think it's going to be a loose conversation. It's going to be two guys sitting with microphones, just hanging out, talking about subjects that are important to America, right? And if they bring up crypto, I think that the conversation is going to be loose. Maybe Trump is all like, "Hey, man, I see you went all in on this Doge thing." Like you know what I mean? I don't know. Anything's on the table. Because if it was like CNN on one end, with Elon or with Trump, then I would say like no, they're gonna vet which questions they're gonna ask. They're gonna have maybe 6 to 15 questions, and so the most important ones will make the cut, and the other ones won't. But I think this, I'm sure Elon's got some stuff written down, but I'm telling you, it's gonna be a loose conversation. They're going to talk about God knows what. Maybe they get into hunting or golf, or maybe
they'll definitely get into golf.
Hey, you think Maduro is going to join the space?
Yeah.
Rumor Argentina?
No,
Venezuela. The one that has a beef with Elon.
Yeah. He was supposed to fight him, too.
No, there's one country that's not happy.
Dude, this is so ugly. This is cringe, man.
European Commission. Dear Mr. Musk, I am writing to you in the context of recent events in the United Kingdom and in relation to the planned broadcast on your platform X of a live conversation between you and Donald Trump. I understand that you are currently doing a stress test, yada, yada, yada. This notably means, and talking about, hey, remember, you got to be in compliance with EU law, in particular, the DSA, the Dumb Secrecy Act, or whatever the hell it's called, Digital Services Act. This notably means ensuring, on one hand, freedom of expression, information, yada, 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 but also, on the other hand, mitigating measures that are put in place regarding the amplification of harmful content in connection with relevant events, including live streaming, which, if unaddressed, might increase the risk profile of X. It implies informing EU judicial administrative authorities. So this is pretty much would you call this a threat? It's like, hey, yeah,
absolutely, it's a threat.
Do what you got to do, man. But just know that if you violate these laws, the DSA law, then we might just ban you in the EU. I don't know. What are your thoughts on
that? That's so disgraceful, right? I mean, what a slap to the face. And the funny thing is that I know for a fact Elon does not give two
crappies.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the you remember this is I'm sure what Elon has
that there's a public perception that and you're clarifying this now. But there's a public perception that was part of a apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself.
But
go f*** yourself.
That's it.
Is that clear?
That's that FU money, though, right?
So yeah. At the end of the day, he doesn't give a damn. Go fuck yourself is what he's going to say to the EU, right? I mean, does anybody in this room think he's going to censor himself?
No.
There you go. So absolutely no chance whatsoever that there's any censoring here. I think it's just comical. So
Yeah, very comical. All right, let's talk about the markets here. So, you see this, you see the thumbnail on your screen right now. You have a few altcoins in there, and the title says might be your last chance to buy. And so let's take a look at where the markets are, the price of Bitcoin, and what altcoins am I exactly talking about? Well, let's start with BTC sitting at just under $60,000, still up 9% over the last 7 days, down 1% over the last 24 hours. Ethereum over $2,600, $2,664. You have BNB at $513. Solana, $144. XRP lost some of that big rally it had when the court case was finally closed, but as a lot of people assume, the SEC, they're going to file an appeal. So what kind of dark cloud effect is that going to have on future price action of XRP? Toncoin coming in at number 8. $6.42 with a market cap of $16 billion. Doge, 10 cents. And Cardano rounding out the top 10 at 33.81 cents. Rob mentioned we have that big Rare Evo event happening this week. We will be there. A lot of exciting things happening. We're going to have some in-guest studio throughout the week, so you do not want to miss the live shows this week. You'll never know who's going to pop in ICP. So just make sure you got your notification on. You know when we go live, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. That does not change unless we tell you well in advance. But what are the 3 altcoins that it might be your last chance to buy? Let's start with ICP. $7.14, up 1.43% over the last 7 days. You take a look at this monthly chart for ICP as it loads. A monthly high of over $10, currently sitting at $7. We know what ICP does. We know their tech. It's second to none. What their capabilities are, what different avenues that they're looking to exploit in crypto as far as to make it better. You also have Caspa, right? Caspa's up over 1.3% over the 1 day at 16.1 cents. It did get to an all-time high of over 21 cents, around 20.7 cents to be exact. It has seen a little bit of a drawdown, currently sitting at 16 cents. Marathon announced they're mining Caspa. I don't think that's going to be the last one. Might be the first, won't be the last. But what Caspa's doing in their team, I mean, let me tell you something here. So I have the privilege of being able to reach out to the Caspa team whenever we do a Caspa video and say, hey, I'm doing a video on Caspa. Anything going on in the ecosystem that maybe I can share. And they are always so responsive. They're always willing to give information, willing to give their help, their resources. And so that's partly one of the reasons why we do so many Caspa videos, is because we want to amplify the things that they are doing, the voices of the people in the space. And the project is about as solid as it gets. And so we're excited about Caspa. We know Casplex version 2 is coming out, fixing some of the issues with the KRC standard that happened in the first go around. They got shy working with the Casplex team to make sure that, hey, we don't fumble like we did last time. And then the last one here is Hedera. This one is down on the day, down 1.38%. You can pick Hedera up at 5.4 cents. Take a look at the monthly chart for Hedera. It did have a monthly high of around 8 cents, so you can buy this thing at discount. Out of these 3, Robin, ICP, Caspa, HBAR, if you had to pick one, or you know what, rank them. Rank them in order of, hey, I'm buying right now. These prices, which ones are like, hey, I'm not going to see these prices for a while?
I think the one that has the most to gain is Hedera. I think that once it gets back in the market, or once it gets that market interest that we're expecting it to get, I think because it's outside of, how far down is Hedera on the market cap list?
It is number 40.
Yeah, it has so much room to move. And so for me, I think the one with the most upside is Hedera. I got to go Caspa 1, Hedera 2, ICP.
Caspa's only 4 cents from its all-time high.
Man, I don't know, man. Then you got Cardano.
They're all good projects. I'm just saying.
It's about okay. So one, if retail doesn't come in like a lot of people are expecting for this bull market, last bull market cycle, retail came in. We got the stimulus checks, as you alluded to earlier in the show, and these checks were printed, and people were forced to stay at home, and basically retail just piled in on crypto. If this happens again, and we see an environment where everybody's got Coinbase on their app and everyone's at work talking about what altcoin they're buying, in that case, Cardano's 1, Caspa 2, ICP, and then Hedera. But if that retail just never shows up, at least not in the proportion that we think they are, then at that point, we're going to have to shake it up a little bit. I think that Hedera, with their institution-focused roadmap, I think is number 1, and then ICP, then Caspa, then Cardano. So I think it flips, right? It just really depends on, is retail money going to dominate the swings in crypto, and do we get these 300% moves in these altcoins because retail is just going FOMO crazy, or is it subdued and it's institution and ETF driven? If it's ETF and institution driven, I think it's the latter. I think it's ICP and Hedera. If the retail comes in like we are expecting, then it's Caspa and Cardano all day. Those are the ones that have that thriving community. And so if I had to pick one or the other, I think it's Cardano 1, Caspa 2, ICP, and then Hedera, and then completely reverse it if retail doesn't show up.
For me, it's
I don't think any of them are bad plays though.
I don't either. And just to be clear, we're ranking these based off of what is the current price and how likely are we to see these prices again once it starts rallying. So with that in mind, my ranking is, not excluding Cardano, because I didn't mention the Cardano, but I mentioned ICP, Hedera, and Caspa. I would go ICP, $7. Got up to over $20. We know the all-time high was 700. I'm not saying it's going to get there anytime soon. I think eventually it'll get there. I'm going ICP, I'm going Hedera, and then I'm going Caspa. I think Caspa's only 4 cents off its all-time high. I still think it's got a lot of room to run. I still think a $2 Caspa is in play for this bull market. Again, I did mention, when Marathon came out and Fred Thiel said, look, we make $1 per kilowatt hour on Caspa. We only make 8 cents for Bitcoin. I think a lot of these other miners are going to look around and say, that's a big disparity here. Why don't we...
I was going to say, just real quick, let's just include the chat here as well to this conversation. Rank in order what you think these altcoins are going to be for this bull market. And please, if you're at work, just take a second. I really want to know, what is your...
If you're at work, tell me you need to go to the bathroom real quick.
So put 4 numbers. Start with the one you think is going to be at the top. 1 for ICP, 2 for Caspa, 3 for ADA, and 4 for HBAR. What is your lineup for this altcoin market coming up in this bull market? What do you think is going to be the strongest performer and the weakest of the group?
Ashley said 8. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Good job, Ashley. While you guys are doing that, I do want to give a big thank you to our other channel sponsor today, which is Seed Hunter. You guys know we've done a video on Seed Hunter. If you haven't watched it yet, definitely go watch it. But this is a platform that allows KOLs, Web3 projects that are looking for funding, and retail investors like you who don't have the hundreds of thousands of dollars or don't have the connections to get into pre-sale, pre-funding, private round funding at 2 cents Solana, sell it at $200. Those people, they're connecting them and giving projects the ability to raise money with retail. And so with a little of $50, you can get pre-funding prices on some of the potential biggest projects. I know Space Mavericks has their TGE coming out soon. I believe towards the end of September. They still have a little more room on the funding. But what I'd recommend at the very least is click the link in the description. Just go create an account. Create an account, look on the platform. You can make money by referring people, whether that's a Web3 project, maybe you're launching you want to launch a project and you're looking for funding, you can launch on there. Maybe you know someone who has a project and they need funding. You can recommend them to the website. You can earn money that way. And of course, if you find a project on there that you believe has a lot of potential, You can invest money as well. And so big thank you to Seed Hunter. We're excited to continue to work with them. Very good platform. We've talked to their team. We're actually doing a spaces with them soon here. So
Yeah.
super excited. So big thank you to Seed Hunter. Also, big thank you to whoever posted this meme. Me at 11 a.m. Let's begin trading. And then me at 11:05 going to sleep because I got liquidated. Been there before. It's not very fun.
A lot of twos in the chat. A lot of Caspa. No surprise there.
Yeah.
No surprise there.
Yeah, our last Caspa video is at almost 10,000 views.
Yeah.
Caspa, ICP, Cardano. I think those are the 3 biggest communities that we have on this platform. So big shout out to all of you, and big shout out to you guys who have liked today's video. We got 213 people watching, 84 likes. Let's get that number up to 100. That'd be great. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 4 years ago, Michael Saylor said, we're going to buy Bitcoin. And what has happened and what kind of effect has a MicroStrategy, Bitcoin strategy had on MicroStrategy, the company, and MicroStrategy, the stock price, and what does that mean moving forward? Let's take a peek. This is from youtoday.com. Saylor's big Bitcoin gamble turns 4. Here's how MicroStrategy stock has played out. So the company, founded back in 1989, went public 9 years later in 1998. Became one of the stocks that gained prominence during the dot-com craze in the 90s. And then, of course, like every other dot-com stock, including Amazon, it completely collapsed. But it collapsed due to a revenue restatement. This came after the SEC issued new guidelines for reporting revenue due to some concerns about high-tech firms artificially boosting their numbers. This also took down a lot of other companies as well. After languishing for nearly 2 decades, the stock ended up recovering following Saylor's Bitcoin gamble. Now, Robin, one might read this and say Bitcoin saved MicroStrategy. Am I right? 20 years down, nothing, flat, no one wants anything to do with it. And then bam, Bitcoin strategy.
Yeah. I mean, the story's written already, and Michael Saylor has come out and gave you his estimates on the trajectory of his company prior to the positioning on Bitcoin, right? They were trying to find a new treasury reserve asset, and they had option was gold. They weighed the option of gold, buybacks. There was a list of things that was on the table, and they knew that every other option other than Bitcoin was either a fast death or slow death. If you've watched any of Michael Saylor's interviews, he discusses this, and for when he decided to take the position on Bitcoin, there was few options out there, and none of them really returned anything, right? Maybe short-term returns, but at the end of the day, it was sell the company, buybacks, slow death. And so, Bitcoin was the savior for them, and it's worked out very well. And, they're not going to slow down. And, I mean, other companies have to start taking notice, right? I know that we have a handful, but I don't know. I think.
Well, they're going to have the means to do it now, Robin.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at this. This from the same article. In fact, as noted by Saylor, MicroStrategy has managed to outperform 499 out of 500 stocks in the S&P 500. The one, and I'm just taking a guess here, is probably NVIDIA, right? From $500 billion to a $3 trillion market cap. As reported, the MicroStrategy stock was added to the much coveted MSCI World Index earlier this year after outperforming Bitcoin. Publicly traded companies, right? Once you go public, you're playing with investor money. You create a board, and the board's job really is, how are we going to bring the most amount of value to our shareholders? Look what happened when Boeing and McDonnell Douglas did their merger. The main focus was no longer on engineering, it was on the stock price. And so you have to believe, you have to assume that shareholders of large companies are going to look at MicroStrategy and they're going to say, wow, so this stock was dead in the water for 20 years. They took a position on Bitcoin and they outperformed all but one company in the S&P 500 in 4 years, all but one. How many of those shareholders do you think, Robin, at the next shareholder meeting, or might be writing letters, or might be calling their friends, or might be, might have a direct line of access to the CEO and say, why haven't you guys added Bitcoin to your balance sheet? Have you not seen what MicroStrategy has done? Have you not seen what MetaPlanet has done? Their stock has surged over 60% in the last 3 weeks. Every time they announce a Bitcoin buy, the stock surges 30%. You don't think that's going to happen? It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to get? Then you're going to get another company to do it. And then here's case study number 3. And then another one. And then you're going to get a really big one. Then you're going to get an Apple. You're going to get a Microsoft. You're going to get a NVIDIA. You're going to get, I don't know, a big...
We had SpaceX and Tesla, had taken a position on Bitcoin last bull market cycle. Still, SpaceX still a holder of
But
Bitcoin.
they're not the MicroStrategy type buyer, right? They bought once, they held it, they didn't sell it, right? I'm talking about, hey, excess capital, we're going to shore up our profit and loss statement. We're going to shore up our revenue. We're going to shore up our balance sheet with Bitcoin.
But if you take companies that do that, because I agree with you, that's coming, right? And with results, with positive results, competition takes note and copies. It's no secret here. You can have a full keyboard on your phone, and you can say, this is the latest, greatest thing. This is how it's done. We need a full keyboard. All of a sudden, in comes the iPhone with a touchscreen top to bottom, and it's wildly successful. It doesn't matter if you think that your full keypad is necessary. You're either going to hop on board or you're going to get left behind. And especially if you're in lockstep with competition, if you're one and you're number two, number one is Samsung, number two is Apple. If you get flipped, all of a sudden they have surpassed you in revenue, and you're going to take note. You're going to be like, maybe we should do the same thing, right? And that's going to happen as MicroStrategy keeps growing and growing and becoming the alpha when it comes to textbook treasury assets. People are going to do that. But then also you couple that with the likes of SpaceX, where companies don't need to go full degen, but like, you know what? We agree with you, Sailor. We don't need to go all in and take out loans and take every freaking dollar we have on the sidelines and buy Bitcoin. We don't need to go that far. But hey, you know what? We're a $100 billion company. We're a $500 billion company. We're, in the top 20 of the S&P 500. And you know what? Other companies are having wild success with Bitcoin. Let's buy some. And I think you do the two of those, right? That's what we're going to have. We're going to have companies that mirror MicroStrategy, that go all in, and then you're going to have just big ass companies that are like, you know what? Let's throw $500 million at some Bitcoin. Let's just buy some, just like SpaceX did. And so,
there is a nice interview. The founder of Netflix, when they went to talk to the CEO of Blockbuster, and they were laughed about it. And then a few years later, of course, Blockbuster is back.
I remember, Rocco. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's a beautiful interview. I definitely suggest everybody to.
They turned down a big offer to buy for them to buy Blockbuster, and Blockbuster laughed in their face.
They asked to be a partner, and then they would be laughed.
I think there's one Blockbuster store open.
If you're waiting for the money printer to turn on, wait no longer. We have the White House. In case you haven't missed it, Trump has been campaigning here in Nevada, particularly Las Vegas.
Oh my God! Okay,
and he's come out and said, hey, he's going to remove tips or taxation on tips. So now the service industry that works here in Nevada and across the U.S. Not going to pay taxes.
Did you see Kamala Harris say the same thing?
Watch.
Thanks, Karine. Over the weekend, Vice President said she followed former President Donald Trump in saying she would support a proposal that would not tax tipped wages. If similar bill made its way to the President of the United States, President Biden, would he sign that? Because that's not something he's he's
Yeah.
embraced before.
Oh, absolutely. Look, this is something that the president supports. He supports eliminating taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers while also raising minimum wage and preventing the wealthy from gaining the system. And if you think about what the president has talked about the last 3.5 years, making sure that we have an economy that works for all, not leaving anybody behind, an economy that's built from the bottom up, middle out, the president has been fighting, and the vice president has been fighting to do just that. Think about raising the minimum wage, which the Trump administration, they blocked. Cut taxes for workers and families after Trump gave a $2 trillion tax cut skewed to billionaires and big corporations. Defend overtime protections for millionaires, millions of workers whom the Trump administration left behind. Ensure workers have the freedom to join a union which the Trump administration undermined. You hear it talk about Maganomics and what the GOP is for. Therefore, giving tax breaks from billionaires and corporation. They want price gouging. That's what they want to see. They don't want to protect.
So, takeaway here is that Biden, not Kamala, is for, Kamala is taking a recent stance on removing tips or taxation on tips. But Biden, this is from the executive office, from their press briefing, that Biden is going to do it as well. And so is this something we see prior to the election?
You know what's funny? You know why I don't trust politicians? And whether it's from the left or from the right, because this was just 2 years ago, Robin. It was 50-50 tie. It was a bill that came to the Senate floor that would allow the IRS to track down workers' tips so they could be taxed. And she was the tiebreaker, and she voted yes. So this is why I don't trust politicians. Left, right, center, doesn't matter. I'll see you when I believe it.
Well, here's the thing. If tips aren't taxed by the end of the year, let's just say Biden wants to spur votes or spur the economy, right? And this is essentially a form of printing, right? I mean, how much income is generated by middle class and lower class Americans that is in the form of tips that now are not going to get taxed? And, essentially you're going to have millions of people that have more disposable income. And so I think that this is what we've talked about, that, hey, the economy rallies in an election year, and it usually has a lot to do with the executive office wanting to gain re-election. And so they try to spur the economy and print money, which we know what happens to asset prices like Bitcoin and crypto in this environment.
What happens, Robin?
Well, you get 2021. And so it's here. The printer is here.
And I'll know one more thing, and I want to kind of go back to the Michael Saylor thing, right? MicroStrategy. We always see like Warren Buffett's got $200 billion of cash on the sideline, right? You have companies and investors that have de-risked from the markets because the rate of return has been so high on money market funds, on treasuries. Once rate cuts happen, and that allure is not there, Robin, and you have companies and large investors and people that have all this money that has just been sitting and earning 3%, 4%, 5%, and money cash on the sidelines like Warren Buffett, when they decide to deploy that capital back into the markets, you have to at least assume that Bitcoin will be part of that conversation. Yeah, that's all I'll say. That'll do it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got a Cardano video coming out in about 1 hour, so make sure you have your notification bells pinged on and follow this channel. Also, big thank you to all the moderators at this channel as well. And guys, I'm telling you, got a lot of visitors in Las Vegas this week. You never know who we're going to bring in here, so do not miss any of the live shows. And with that being said, Rocco, a little early, but it's better than last week. It's fine. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We hope you had a fun time watching the show. We had a great time being here with you. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time. Peace.
Sin City, crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I split the game, but they gave it. Name the coin, it's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO